Welcome to the Zen Studies Podcast. I'm Domio Burke. Thanks to new members of the podcast who are supporting my work. Adam from Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Stephen from Boston, Massachusetts. Robert from London, England. Harry from Silver Spring, Maryland. And Malin Joy from 's-Hertogenbosch in the Netherlands. So this episode is a Teisho, Awakening Bodhicitta, Seeking Your Heart's Inmost Desire. A Teisho, if you haven't listened to one of mine before, is like a cross between a Dharma Talk and a guided meditation. So last week I led a sesshin, or a silent Zen retreat, and participants participated in a 24-hour schedule of zazen and chanting and silent work and formal meals and rest. And once a day, I offered a Teisho, and Te means to offer or put forth, and Sho means to recite or proclaim. And Teisho are sometimes called encouragement talks, and they're meant to help listeners connect with the Dharma in the spaciousness and silence of zazen and retreat. So they're not explanations or the imparting of information, and they're generally not recorded. They're offered spontaneously just for the moment, just for those listening. But although you may not be sitting zazen while you listen to this episode, I thought I would offer you a Teisho as if you are. So zazen and sesshin, or retreat practice, really Zen practice in general, is aimed at waking up. Not all people are going to engage it for that purpose, or at least not consciously. But if you look at the Zen teachings, they're pretty clear. They're exhortations to wake up, to arouse bodhicitta, the mind that seeks the way, and to not just sleepwalk through life. In many Buddhist texts, life is described as if it is a dream. And this may sound a little disparaging, as if your life is an illusion and it doesn't particularly matter. And if you really wake up, you'll see how it's not important. But this life is as if a dream is an imperfect metaphor, but it does reflect a reality about our experience when we see things more clearly. So when you're experiencing a dream, whether it's exciting or it's disturbing, you're caught up in it. You believe in it. You're invested in it. And then on waking, you might go, whew, that was just a dream. Or maybe you're regretful it was just a dream. That's how the way that the dream appears to you upon waking is how our everyday concerns, our self-centeredness, our personal drama appears from the perspective of the Absolute. Whew, just a dream. It isn't that our everyday lives aren't important. We take the utmost care with everything as part of our practice. We emphasize the precepts, the moral guidelines. But our lives aren't important the way we are usually convinced they are. Instead, they are a passing, ephemeral, short, fascinating phenomenon, regardless of our personality or our conditions. So Zen exhorts us to wake up and arouse bodhicitta, the mind that seeks the way. There are different approaches to this, different approaches to arousing that mind, and different responses once that mind has arisen. And in Zen, this is embodied in our two main modern schools, Rinzai, or related koan traditions, versus Soto Zen, or silent illumination Chaodong schools. This is exemplified, though, in a quote by Hongzhi, a Chan ancestor. If illumination neglects serenity, then aggressiveness appears. But if serenity neglects illumination, murkiness leads to wasted dharma. So in some schools, particularly those focused on koan practice, there is a great emphasis on awakening experiences. That wake up is going to be a very explicit exhortation. And you're encouraged to make great effort in your practice and in your meditation to breaking through and seeing the truth. And this is, in this passage by Hongzhi, this is illumination. And the effort to achieve that illumination, that clarity, that insight. But then serenity is the silent illumination of the Chaodong and Soto school of sitting in our being and allowing everything to fall away, starting from the radically non-dual position that there is nowhere to go and everything is right before us. So Hongzhi is pointing out that we need both. If illumination, if that effort to wake up, to see, neglects serenity, neglects this radical non-dual, then aggressiveness appears. Then we're striving. Then we forget, in a way, what this is all about. But if serenity neglects illumination, murkiness leads to wasted dharma. The serenity of our zazen, of our acceptance in Soto Zen practice, Chaodong practice, it can lead to murkiness and wasted dharma. We quite rightly reject striving and struggle. You can't transcend the self. As long as there is a you can't transcend the self. It's still a you. And in fact, the harder you try, the more reality that illusory self takes on. And we are quite right to treasure acceptance and patience and shikantaza. I get a lot of pushback from students when I encourage them to, say, work on koans or to bring awakening foremost in their mind, to make an effort, because they don't want to give up. We don't want to give up the purity, the peace of shikantaza, of sitting and not trying to do anything, of embodying. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be figured out. There's nothing but this. So you don't, generally, if you do that practice, you're not inclined to start muddying it up with efforts to awaken or clarify things or do koans. And yet there is that danger on this side of the coin of murkiness. If we think we are just sitting, if we are sitting contentedly thinking, ah, yes, I'm just sitting, then we're not. We're still in the middle of what I like to call our mental map. Still unchallenged assumptions and a certain kind of structure that we're trying to give the world with our minds. We may not even be aware of it. We're not even aware of it. In Genjo Koan, Dogen says, when you have still not fully realized the Dharma in body-mind, you think it is sufficient. When the Dharma fills body-mind, you feel some lack. When we're truly sitting, the reality, the universe just seems vast. There's absolutely no sense of enough. I mean, lack is perhaps not a good word to use in this translation, because it doesn't have to be a negative sensation. We don't need to strive for something, but we do need to keep letting go in a radical way, never satisfied. We can be deeply at peace with ourselves and with our lives while still seeking to grow, to become more familiar with reality, to act in accord with our deepest aspirations. It's said in Buddhism that there are 3 motivations for practicing the Dharma, 3 sources of that bodhicitta, the mind that seeks the way. It's said that at first, we practice for the sake of our own suffering. It drives us to find a way. Then, over time, much of our most acute suffering can be resolved. It's not that we become saints or perfect people, but internally we become more spiritually at peace, more accepting of ourselves and our limitations. So then the bodhicitta, if you keep practicing, the motivation generally becomes what's phrased as for others, and it certainly can be in that of I'm doing it for your sake, I suppose, but really more than that, it's trying to become fulfill your potential, to become more skillful, to clean up your karma, to do all of these things so that you can be better in relationship. So you can be more responsive, so you can get yourself out of the way when you are responding to others. So it's really about engagement with the world, finding out what it means to be a human being, to be who you are, to fulfill the potential of your own life. And then we can even get to the point where we're pretty happy with all of that. And then we might stop the passion with which we might have begun practice, the passion which might keep us sitting more zazen or going to retreat or studying the Dharma or whatever it was that you did out of your longing to know more. We might stop doing it. Good enough. But if we keep on deepening our practice, we then do it for the sake of the Dharma itself. For the sake of that vast mystery that we sense surrounds us. We aim to become more and more and more simple and open, permeable. Hongzhi says, silent and serene, forgetting words, bright clarity appears before you. When you reflect it, you become vast. Where you embody it, you are spiritually uplifted. We may fear that this is just wishful thinking. Beautiful words, some spiritually athletic Zen master describing his far-out experiences that have nothing to do with us. Or if we get inspired by these kinds of descriptions, that we don't want to get into setting them as some kind of goal, unnecessarily reintroducing dissatisfaction into our lives once we've gotten relatively happy. But it's not like this. Houston Smith addresses this relationship between our heart and what is greater. In his book, Why Religion Matters, he says, the finitude of mundane existence cannot satisfy the human heart completely. Built into the human makeup is a longing for a more that the world of everyday experience cannot requite. This outreach strongly suggests the existence of the something that life reaches for, in the way that the wings of birds point to the reality of air. If we form ideas about what it is that we want to awaken to, or we feel we should want to awaken to, if we imagine some special state, some special piece of knowledge or insight, becoming a different person, eventually we just give up, decide we can't do it, or don't want to bother, or there's nothing to get. There are beautiful descriptions of the fruit of practice, of awakening, that discourage grasping but can still move the heart and help awaken our bodhicitta. Hongzhi says, the empty field cannot be cultivated or proven. From the beginning, it is altogether complete, undefiled, and clear down to the bottom, where everything is correct and totally sufficient. Attain the pure eye that illuminates thoroughly, fulfilling liberation. Enlightenment involves enacting this. Stability develops from practicing it. When you reach the truth without middle or edge, cutting off before and after, then you realize one wholeness. Clearly, this affair occurs within your own house. This is not some special state you attain in meditation or outside of it. It's a waking up to what is already true, what is already around and within you and has been true from the beginning. As he says, clearly this affair occurs within your own house. Hongzhi also says, spiritually solitary and shining, inner illumination restores wonder. Wonder. That alone could be a motivation for Dharma practice, couldn't it? The wonder of a child, thrilled and excited by each thing they encounter, each new experience and object and living thing. Contrasted with the delusion of an adult who thinks that they know everything. They've seen that before. Oh, that's a robin. And in so naming it, placing it within our mental map, we just discount it. The only thing we pay attention to is our mental map, our name for something, what we think we know about it. We stop even paying attention. To awaken that kind of wonder again, that's one of the fruits of a deep Dharma practice. We practice silent illumination. It loosens our grip on that mental map of ours, so for a moment it can fall away, or maybe some small gap can open up in it. And you can recognize that what you perceive, which is usually apparently just so mundane, it's no flashing lights or anything, it's just, you just perceive what is in front of you. But the way you see it, it seems so much more true, so much grander than your mental map. You have 3 and 4 and 5 dimensions instead of 2. Bodhidharma describes some of these moments of awakening. He says, when you first embark on the path, your awareness won't be focused. You're likely to see all sorts of strange, dreamlike scenes, but you shouldn't doubt that all such scenes come from your own mind and nowhere else. If, as in a dream, you see a light brighter than the sun, your remaining attachments will suddenly come to an end and the nature of reality will be revealed. Such an occurrence serves as the basis for enlightenment. But this is something only you know. You can't explain it to others. Or if, while you're walking, standing, sitting, or lying in a quiet grove, you see a light, regardless of whether it's bright or dim, don't tell others and don't focus on it. It's the light of your own nature. Or if while you're walking, standing, sitting, or lying in the stillness and darkness of night, everything appears as though in daylight, don't be startled. It's your own mind about to reveal itself. These are little moments that make us dance, We can't grasp them, but we should honor them as glimpses of reality rather than holding on to them, trying to put them in our pocket, trying to save them on our shelf, trying to claim them as knowledge. We should just give ourselves to the practice to make ourselves more and more open and perceptive and humble. Buddha nature is one of the many descriptors of reality, pointing toward the experience of sentient beings who are ultimately not separate from anything. Huang Po says, our original Buddha nature is, in highest truth, devoid of any atom of objectivity. It is void, omnipresent, silent, pure. It is glorious and peaceful, mysterious joy. And that is all. Enter deeply into it by awakening to it yourself. That which is before you is it, in all its fullness, utterly complete. There is nothing besides. Even if you go through all the stages of a bodhisattva's progress towards Buddhahood one by one, when, at last, in a single flash, you attain to full realization, you will only be realizing the Buddha nature, which has been with you all the time. And by all the foregoing stages, you will have added to it nothing at all. You will come to look upon those eons of work and achievement as no better than unreal actions performed in a dream. So he says Buddha nature is devoid of any atom of objectivity. It can't be grasped. It can't be understood in a reductive way. Only experienced peaceful joy. That which is before you is it. Maybe you think, oh, I've experienced that. I know what he's talking about. Maybe that's true. But are you going to be satisfied with a memory? What is your relationship to your Buddha nature at this very moment? Chances are, at this very moment, you aren't blissed out with glorious and mysterious peaceful joy. Don't get caught up thinking about past and future, however. Constant change is the nature of human experience, of everything. We will have blissful moments and awful moments, boring moments and distracted moments. We can't grasp the Buddha nature or the glorious and mysterious peaceful joy. We can remind ourselves or inspire ourselves with this kind of description. Let it arouse our bodhicitta. Let it light a fire within, spark our determination. Something is required of us. We can't just intellectually accept Dharma teachings and expect to taste their liberative quality for ourselves. We can't just adopt the mantra, it's all right here, there's nothing to gain, and expect to fulfill our heart's deepest aspirations. In the Precious Mirror Samadhi, it says, move and you are trapped. miss, and you fall into doubt and vacillation. Turning away and touching are both wrong, for it is like massive fire. When we get a sense of it, we want to move toward it and grab it. But we can't. And yet, at the same time, if we just turn our backs and walk away, nothing's going to happen. So we just devote ourselves to the practice, like a fool, like an idiot, exposing ourselves to the teachings, arousing our bodhicitta, sitting in silent illumination, allowing it to restore our wonder. Taoism is part of our Chan lineage. When Buddhism met Taoism in China, Chan emerged. The Tao, according to David Hinton, is a generative cosmological process, an ontological pathway by which things come into existence, evolve through their lives, and then go out of existence, only to be transformed and reemerge in a new form. Ontological and cosmological, big words, but it's all about the nature of existence. And a couple other words in the passage from the Tao Te Ching that I want to share include qi, life force and matter simultaneously, dark enigma, Tao before it is named, absence itself acting, Wu Wei, or absence action. The Tao is composed of two aspects, absence and presence. In Buddhist terms, it might be emptiness and form. And when we act without a identity center self, it is just the Tao, the universe, appearing of itself. So in the Tao Te Ching, much of it is beautiful, but I was struck by this poem. Can you let your spirit embrace primal unity without drifting away? Can you focus qi into such softness you're a newborn again? Can you polish the dark enigma mirror to a clarity beyond stain? Can you make loving the people and ruling the nation absence itself acting? Can you be female, opening and closing heaven's gate? Can you fathom Earth's four distances with radiant wisdom and know nothing? Give birth and nurture. Give birth without possessing and foster without dominating. This is called dark enigma integrity. I want this. It is an infinite kind of wanting. It is a wanting that does not have to diminish or cause distress. It is a wanting more like love, like awe, like wonder. I hope you will be similarly inspired to wake up. That's it for today. I will be back soon with a new episode. I hope you'll tune in. Thanks for listening.